As far as works of fiction go, the Harry Potter books are pretty mild. Sure, the books do get a little bit darker as the story goes on, but you never go so far as to deem it satanic or something, right? Well, as it happens, many people do think this way. I know, nuts. And ever since the first book hit the shelves in the late 90s, there have been waves of controversies surrounding the series, including some truly outrageous claims, like Harry Potter being somehow synonymous with devil worship. And that's just one of these flagrant claims. One asserts that the Harry Potter books act as an open doorway that will put untold millions of kids into hell. Another claims that the books are worse than rat poison mixed with orange soda. And one religious figure even made the bold proclamation that behind Harry Potter hides the signature of the King of the Darkness, the Devil. These are real quotes. But now the question is, are these assertions substantiated in any way? Today we're going to be tackling this topic head-on, unpacking why so many people believed Harry Potter served as a gateway to hell, what unfolded in the wake of these controversies, and why, despite all of the backlash, the series not only survived, but became a global phenomenon. Let's dive into it. Hey everyone, welcome to another installment of Harry Potter Theory. Over the past few decades, the Harry Potter books have helped shape the imaginations of millions of children around the world. Midnight release parties, kids dressed as Harry, Ron and Hermione for Halloween, and people proudly shouting their Hogwarts house for all to hear. And for all of the above reasons, it's abundantly clear that Harry Potter has become a cultural phenomenon. If you asked most people to describe the books, they'd probably tell you it's a harmless coming-of-age story. A young boy discovers he's a wizard, is introduced to a magical world, and begins attending a school for witchcraft and wizardry. Along the way, he builds lifelong friendships, confronts major challenges, and eventually finds himself face-to-face with a dark wizard named Voldemort. But still, there are an awful lot of people that take issue with it. And in the late 90s, early 2000s, the Harry Potter books started getting banned everywhere. Schools, churches, libraries, and even countries. In the year 2000, Carol Rookwood, headmistress of St. Mary's Island Church of England Aided School in Kent, England, banned the books from school grounds, stating that the Bible is very clear and consistent in its teachings that wizards, devils, and demons exist and are very real, powerful, and dangerous, and God's people are told to have nothing to do with them. Interesting that her last name is Rookwood. In India, the Harry Potter books were banned after being brandished a threat to children's moral upbringing. In the US, several states, including Arizona and New Mexico, banned Harry Potter from schools and libraries. In Egypt, the books were banned by religious authorities who deemed the books anti-Islamic and a threat to national security. In Saudi Arabia, the books were banned because they were un-Islamic and haram. And in Russia, the books were banned in many schools and libraries due to concerns about the promotion of Western values. And in the most extreme cases, the Harry Potter books were even subject to mass burnings, where thousands of copies of Harry Potter were thrown into literal flames alongside other so-called dangerous works of fiction. And shockingly, despite the first book nearing its 30th anniversary, book burnings are still happening years later. The most recent example I could find was in 2019, when priests from the northern city of Gdansk in Poland burned books and other objects they believe promote magic and sorcery, such as copies of books like Harry Potter, Twilight, and one about the controversial guru Rajneesh. In order to justify these burnings, the priest quoted several biblical passages. A passage from Acts of the Apostles, quoted by the group, said, "Many of those who had practiced magic collected their books and burned them in front of everyone. So they calculated their value and found it to be 50,000 pieces of silver." Another passage from Book of Deuteronomy said, "Burn the images of their gods. Don't desire the silver or the gold that is on them and take it for yourself, or you will be trapped by it. That is detestable by the Lord your God." And in another 2019 incident, a pastor at the Roman Catholic Parish School of St. Edward in Nashville, Tennessee, banned the books from the school library on the grounds that the curses and spells used in the books are actual curses and spells, which when read by a human being risk conjuring evil spirits into the presence of the person reading the text. And that brings me to the root cause against all of these Harry Potter controversies: religion. Put quite succinctly, one of the main reasons the books are so contentious is due to the religious belief that the books promote witchcraft and the worship of Satan. Many religious groups, including Christians and Muslims, believe that the practice of magic is a sin and that the book's depiction of magic and witchcraft is harmful to children. They also argue that the books encourage children to practice magic and worship Satan, and that this is a dangerous message to send to young readers. And that's where the term occult starts getting thrown around. The occult, in the broadest sense, is a category of esoteric supernatural beliefs and practices which generally fall outside the scope of religion and science, encompassing phenomena involving otherworldly agency, such as magic and mysticism and their varied spells. It can also refer to supernatural ideas like extrasensory perception and parapsychology. Given that one of the central elements of Harry Potter is magic, it's unsurprising that Harry Potter would be inevitably linked to the occult, a term which refers to supernatural forces outside of the scope of religion and science. There are many references to witchcraft in the Bible and other religious texts, with almost all of them directly condemning it. And provided that one of the key thematic elements of Harry Potter is witchcraft, it's not surprising that it's been condemned by various religious groups. For example, Deuteronomy 18:11-12 condemns anyone who casts spells, or who is a medium or spiritist, or who consults the dead. Anyone who does these things is detestable to the Lord, and because of these detestable practices, the Lord your God will drive out those nations before you. Exodus 22:18 states, "Do not allow a sorceress to live." Leviticus 19:31 states, "Do not turn to mediums or seek out spiritists, for you will be defiled by them. I am the Lord your God." Surah al-Baqarah 2:102 from the Quran states, "They followed what the devils had recited during the reign of Solomon. It was not Solomon who disbelieved, but the devils disbelieved, teaching people magic." And Galatians 5:19-21 states, "The acts of the flesh are obvious: immorality, impurity, and debauchery, idolatry and witchcraft. I warn you, as I did before, that those who live like this will not inherit the kingdom of God." And on the topic of idolatry, the books are accused of this as well. This concept refers to the worship of someone or something other than God as though it were God. The first of the biblical 10 commandments is explicit in its prohibition of idolatry. "You shall have no other gods before me." Basically, it's directly perceived as a sin against God, an abandonment of him. And so it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone that religious groups would take issue with this. But it is a strange perspective to have. Harry Potter simply existing isn't telling anyone to worship anything. And from a different but still religious perspective, other religious groups criticize the books for promoting a secular and humanist worldview, which is of course in opposition to their religious worldview. They see the books as promoting a worldview that places human beings at the center of the universe, rather than God. However, what's important to remember here is that not everyone from these religions, and notably not every religion, has an issue with the books. Many believers across different faiths have actually embraced the Harry Potter series and don't believe it promotes the occult at all. Within Catholicism, some figures like Peter Fleetwood of the Pontifical Council for Culture praise the books for helping children understand the difference between good and evil. The Church of England, while possessing many conflicting opinions, does include leaders who recognize the story's strong moral themes and positive messages. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has largely responded positively, with prominent leaders recommending the books for their powerful messages of good, triumphing over evil. And while many Islamic scholars have deemed it un-Islamic and argued that the book's magical themes conflict with Islamic teachings, the series has since gained traction in Muslim-majority countries, even garnering the approval of government bodies. And these more progressive, though still religious perspectives on Harry Potter start to make a lot more sense when we consider that the magic in the series isn't actually rooted in the occult, but rather presented more like a form of fictional science. Groups demonizing the books have chosen to remain ignorant of the fact that J.K. Rowling, the book's author, has always been consistent in her stance that the Harry Potter books do not deal with divine intervention, but are instead entirely secular, meaning they have no religious or spiritual basis. Instead, she has expressed that the magic in Harry Potter is the product of science and not religion at all, entirely independent from the alleged intervention of gods or supernatural forces. One of the largest assumptions made about Harry Potter is that it is somehow related to Wiccanism, a modern pagan witchcraft religion, but Rowling has confirmed that this isn't true either. I absolutely did not start writing these books to encourage any child into witchcraft. I'm laughing slightly because, to me, the idea is absurd. I've met thousands of children, and not even one time has a child come up to me and said, "Mr. Rowling, I'm so glad I've read these books, because now I want to be a witch." The truth is that the magic and perceived supernatural forces in Harry Potter are a secular phenomenon driven by science and nothing else. However, Rowling, a self-described Christian, certainly didn't do herself any favours by including religious passages in the final book, as this loaded the chamber with ammunition and allowed religious figures to point to the inclusion of scripture as proof that the series was engaging with the religious themes. These include the biblical quotations, "The last enemy that shall be destroyed is death," which is featured on the tombstones of Harry's parents, as well as "Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also," which stems from Matthew 6:21 and is featured on the grave of Ariana Dumbledore. In an August 2007 issue of Newsweek, journalist Lisa Miller discusses Harry dying and then coming back to life to save mankind, like Jesus. She then points out the title of the chapter in which this occurs, King's Cross, and discusses possible allusion to Jesus' cross. She also outlines the scene in which Harry is temporarily dead, pointing out that it places Harry in a very heaven-like setting where he talks to a father figure whose supernatural powers are accompanied by a profound message of love. Basically, her argument is that these parallels make it difficult to believe that the basis of the stories isn't inherently satanic. I think that's a bit of a stretch, Lisa. So, is Harry Potter satanic? Absolutely not. Yes, the series has sparked and continues to spark controversy in some religious circles due to its depiction of magic and witchcraft, but the idea that it promotes Satanism is a massive stretch. At its core, Harry Potter is a story about love, friendship, bravery, and the eternal struggle between good and evil, values that are universally celebrated across cultures and faiths. So the next time your crazy old aunt tries to tell you that Harry Potter is satanic, show her this video. If you enjoyed the content, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, remember, it does not do to dwell on dreams and to forget to live.